Joe, pull the rating up. What did it do? That's been a pretty decent number because it was basically a pay-per-view card.
I think they said 1.2, but let me confirm that.
Well, was it around? It was an actual 1.2 last week. Brian Alvarez reported it was 1.2, but the real number is 1.175. He rounded up, and he's getting a lot of heat on Twitter for that.
Okay, Wrestling Observer report. Well, 1.039.
Really?
Yeah, down 11.6% from last week, but still the third highest viewership since March 23rd. It says 5 weeks above 1 million.
Wow.
Yeah, for a big show and a title match, you would have thought it'd be a little bit more.
I mean, it kind of, WWE. I mean, WWE had competition, but their competition was, they had more competition this week. But their head-to-head numbers, Raw dropped significantly too. They lost like 200,000 from the week before, right? And I think SmackDown was under a little bit. Bro, I'm just telling you, maybe this was the thing. Is like when we talked about, because Alvarez had this exact same take that I did on the ratings of the first of last week when AEW did the 1.175, right? And I had the take like Alvarez did that, because wrestling fans are ritualistic. Like there's a very the majority of wrestling fans right now, they watch and you look at the shows they watch. The top 3 shows they watch are SmackDown, Raw, and AEW, right? Mm-hmm. Dynamite, and they probably watch that religiously because it's like what we do. We review those 3 shows. We watch them every week. But if you are more of a WWE fan and you can miss AEW and you catch AEW more sporadically than usual, when you missed your WWE take on Monday with Raw and you were part of the group that watched football, you were probably more inclined to watch it on the show on Wednesday, right? Which I think there was something to that. The habits of wrestling fans, if you like watching wrestling 3 days a week and you missed one of your days, you're going to make sure you're not going to miss that next day. Do you think there's something to that, Konnan?
There could be,
yeah. So last week I think maybe this week specifically, when wrestling fans were more back in tune and something, bro, there were a lot like Raw and SmackDown. There's a lot of long matches. Now there's this was 3 straight shows of long matches, and I'm wondering if that's just it's just got a little bit too much
burnout.
A little burnout from fans, Let's go over the show. Just off the back, Konnan, what did you think of the show? Just a basic good, bad, okay. Well, just if I ask you for one word, what would you say?
Good show. I thought the pacing was better, the formatting was better.
Just one word. Just one word. We'll go over the show.
Good.
Okay, good. Okay,
show.
Cool. Okay. My answer would be all right. Okay,
yeah,
so.
Decent.
Okay, so the show started straight to the entrances. Let me see this. Jericho had an interesting little on Twitter. Did you see this?
No.
Well, let me show you this. Okay. So Jericho wrestles. What's his name?
Claudio.
Okay, wrestles Claudio, and I think we're not Konnan, I think everybody would agree. That Chris Jericho wrestling for the Ring of Honor title is kind of like a step down for him. Chris Jericho, honestly, if this wasn't if he wasn't a company man, he would probably be arguing why on earth am I wrestling for the Ring of Honor title? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, well, let me tell you, I was talking to this guy called Nick. Nick Hausman, the guy that Punk went off on in the scrum at the beginning.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We need to invite him on the show, so also get a hold of him when you can, Joe. But he just interviewed me, and he asked me about that match. And I was like, I'm okay with Chris winning it, but he doesn't need it, and he kind of stopped Claudio's momentum. And he said, yeah, but maybe, and this is a valid point, Tony's trying to get an ROH deal, and Chris Jericho as their champion, which most people know who he is, may help him secure one instead of Claudio.
Right.
Yeah. So if that's, that could be, if that is the reasoning, that's a good reason.
Well, this is kind of weird, because when we think of wrestling, we think of a wrestling show, and we're still kind of everybody's kind of still calling Ring of Honor a thing, but they don't have a show. Ring of Honor is not a show right now, but we're still acknowledging the Ring of Honor championships, and they're defending these belts on another show. AAA has a show, right?
But I think they're trying to get a show, and I think one of the things that they're going to say is, look, Chris Jericho's our champion, which most people know who he is, and nobody knows who Claudio is.
Right. I mean, I can absolutely see that, but I just want to go like regardless of that conversation we can have.
Right.
I'm saying it is just strange that this brand is getting a lot of time on the Dynamite show and they don't have a show.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of right.
So what tweet were you talking about that he liked?
No, he tweeted. I can't find it.
I'm looking at it now. Was it the
one?
one?
He retweeted a million things. I can't find it.
Oh.
It was one where it's kind of like it was putting him over, but then throwing shade at like, why on earth is he fighting for the Ring of Honor Championship? He may have deleted that tweet because like he's got a bunch of
following up what Konnan said. There's a tweet saying, since Jericho is a new Ring of Honor champion, does that mean a TV show soon? I hope so. And he liked that tweet. So maybe maybe that's what they're working on.
Yeah, well, that's the last thing they need is more TV shows, for sakes. Unless they bring somebody else in to run it. Like if Tony thinks adding another show right now to his workload during football season and soccer season is a good idea, I would. I don't think anybody would argue that that's not the smartest thing to do right now. So
give it back to Gabe. Well, I don't know because
who knows?
He kind of gets buried for his last couple of years of booking Ring of Honor now. So I don't think he's that. If he was still hot with the Ring of Honor fans like Paul is with ECW fans, I'd say bring him back. But I'm not sure if that's the case. Right. So maybe not.
So this show was kind of interesting to me. Okay, because like everybody and their mother was complaining on about the typical the AEW fans that criticize everything on WWE and SmackDown. We're complaining about the distraction finishes and the interference finishes on Raw and SmackDown. Okay,
and now they're doing it.
They did a lot.
Right.
Like literally, I was going through. It's like after like 3 matches, I was going, wait a second, everybody's complaining about it. So Jericho basically, plus two, the way they do these, and it's not really their spots, but the referees on this show are terrible actors at acting like they can't see what's going on. And it makes it look very like, it buries the finish a little bit, But this one worked. I'm not going to go over their match. Claudio gave him the swing. These guys work good together. They're WWE guys. We've seen them have a million matches with each other. But basically, at the end, Claudio went for the neutralizer, but Jericho backdropped. And then Claudio landed on his feet and stumbled toward the referee and knocked the referee into the turnbuckle. When Claudio turned around, Aubrey was selling in the corner, like overselling, and Jericho hit him with a low blow and then followed up with the Judas Effect and pinned him. 14 minutes, decent match. Got a little clunky after a little clumsy after the what do you call it? The what is it called? The swing.
The big
I
giant
think they've
swing.
been a little bit dizzy out there. So it's like, I know Chris has taken that on top of the cage.
Oh, he took it on the cage, yeah. Right.
So then, so everybody came out. The Jericho Appreciation Society members came out. Then Jericho turned to Garcia, who held his hand up and took a high five from him. What do you think?
Like I said, I don't like these long matches, but their fan base does. Tony always likes to start off all his shows hot. This was no exception. Good match, not great, but good. Jericho's a legend, dude, in his own lane. I don't think he needed this title, but if they're trying to get a TV deal, then I understand. I just feel that, Jericho's worked his ass off this year. He really has, but he don't need it at this juncture in his career. I like when they announced that Aubrey Edwards became the first woman to referee an ROH world title match. And I was like, Sue, so what? Is this a big deal? This is kind of like...
Bro, you want to talk about virtue signaling? Right. That is like, it's like, what women power...
Right. This is kind of like when Joe announced on Twitter that he's watching a Grand Slam. Big deal, right. Joe. Right. So what?
I was social mediating on social media. Everybody tweets about what they're watching.
No, they don't.
Sure they do.
Right. Just marks.
Yeah, so any other comments on this? This is pretty cut and dry. This is going to be a very easy show to talk about because there's mainly matches and a couple short backstage segments.
Right.
It was a whole show. So.
Right. And there were no bad matches.
No. The next match was pretty good too. Swerve and Keith Lee against the Acclaimed.
They had a good Mox promo. His are always good.
But I don't think he. Here we go. So they had a video package with the comments from Moxley, Bryan Danielson, and William Regal about this match. And Danielson's lost to 4 people in AEW, and his loss to Moxley is the only one he has not avenged. This to me is where they miss an opportunity. It's like there was nothing personal about anything these guys said with each other. Other than I'm going to beat you, I've lost, I'm avenging my losses. They could have made this a little bit more intriguing maybe throwing a little shade, throwing some shade on the other guy a little bit. I don't know. It's just whatever. But this was the first words we heard from Bryan Danielson in a while, and here he is in the match. But this is good that they had a hype video early in the show for the main event later in the show, which they very rarely do, right? So next is the tag match, and the Acclaimed is over because they have a lot of personality. Their entrance is good. The kid rapping's good. They're kind of like the New Age Outlaws a little bit, kind of like they got that kind of energy about them and stuff. Thing, they're charismatic in between the moves sometimes. I'm not a fan of it, but the scissor thing, they'll get in them, and the crowd likes them. They definitely are. They're definitely over with these crowds, and it's very, very weird. Okay, so you saw this spot where they had Strickland. They gave the thing, and then what's his name went up for the elbow. And bro, he just jumped off the top rope and landed on his knee and sold his knee. And did you remember this spot?
Yeah.
Because the camera, I was super confused. Do you know what happened there? I was very confused because he was out of the camera shot, and instead of jumping and giving him the elbow drop, he just jumped onto the mat and sold his knee.
Did somebody push him or shake the ropes or something? They didn't shoot.
They have it in the camera shot.
Yeah, they
didn't say
it,
that, and the announcers didn't say that. The announcers tried to cover it all. He went for the move, but he hurt his knee, and it's like, no, he didn't go for the move. The move's an elbow drop. He just literally jumped off the ropes and landed on his knee, and then sold it to me, which I thought it was a shoot because if that was a called spot, that was one of the weirdest called spots I've ever seen. But basically outside the ring, they do a spot where Swerve gets in Billy Gunn's face, referee distraction. Billy Gunn hits him with the famous on the floor outside the ring. Throws him in the ring, and they hit him with the thing in the mic drop, and they beat him 1, 2, 3. And the crowd popped huge, but that's 2 matches in a row where one the heel went over with the screw job, but the baby faces went over with interference here. So what did you think of this?
Well, the people really like Acclaimed. I think they figured out the last time they fought, they should have put the titles on them. So right. This was a makeup and a feel good. I don't think Billy needed to help them to win, but I'm okay with it, much like Jericho. Okay, but not necessary. Right. Place erupted when they won like you knew they would. Mm-hmm. Swerve and Lee were not on the same page because at one point he hit him inadvertently with the boombox.
Yeah, that was a weird – could you see how he did it?
Yeah.
The spot was supposed to be – I think he's supposed to hit him in the head.
Right.
But instead of just putting his hand up so he could hit him hit him in the side of the head where his hand is, Keith Lee turned his shoulder and all he did was hit him in the side of the arm with the thing. If you watched it, and then Keith Lee went in there overselling it, but he only got hit in the shoulder with the arm.
And if you remember before this, it looked like for a while they were teasing a breakup between these two,
right? Mm-hmm.
And now I think they have a reason. Plus, they don't really have good chemistry. They're not like the Acclaimed. The Acclaimed have good chemistry.
Yeah, and Swerve could be a great heel. I think he's on the way to that. Let me ask
because Keith Lee could throw this guy because Swerve takes excellent bumps.
Yeah,
like he's a good bumping heel. You know what I'm saying? Like he's got that energy about him. Like him against Keith Lee would be very entertaining because he would just be selling for Keith Lee stuff, which would be good TV.
Yeah, they had a lot of heat for Swerve and Lee, and the people really behind Acclaimed.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys this because I looked at it like. Oh, it's total fan service. It's a fan service win. That's what that crowd especially wanted. They wanted to see a title change at a big show. But at what point do you disregard fan service? You know what I mean? Like, if the people really want it, but as Booker, it's not time.
Well, what's wrong with these guys? There's literally nothing wrong with
I'm saying in any case.
The only criticism you would have of this is the people that are so super into the show and they're saying well, why is FTR? How come they never have a title shot? They've been number one contenders since Sable is ridiculous, right? That'd be the only criticism because these guys are, and they have an interview coming back. So afterwards, they go backstage. Dax, Harwood, and Cash Wheeler, and Wheeler praised all 4 men in the match. He also pointed out that they've been number one contenders since April 7th. Austin Gunn and Colton Gunn showed up and mocked them for complaining about being number one contenders and questioned why they are losing their momentum. The Gunns claim they are younger, more talented, more handsome, more charismatic. The Gunns said top guys out to end the segment. They completely – and FTR at the end, after they just got punked out verbally, they're like, yeah, you guys are great, whatever, guys. Did you – bro, the Gunns stole this. FTR didn't even get mad at them for punking them like that. I thought that was really weird. What did you think of that, Cody?
Yeah, I felt the same thing you did.
Yeah. It's like they should have said something or got in their face.
I didn't understand Joe's question. What were you asking, Joe?
Yeah.
So in this situation, it's clearly what the audience wanted, so Tony went with it. But what's the difference between doing it when it's the right time or giving in to just fan service? You know what I mean? How would you know that? How would you know the difference? You know,
what is fan service?
When you just do something because the people want it.
Is that
that's
a term
how you're
now,
supposed.
like
addicted to the blade?
Yeah.
No, Joe,
You know, like they do specific fan service in TV shows or movies. You know.
Well, then so let me tell you a perfect example. Okay, you can wait and not do it and risk not getting the pop that they did when they got it, doing it right at this moment.
Yeah. So when they finally win, it's watered down.
Well, yeah, if you don't hit it, I mean, brother,
you don't hit it. That's what I'm asking. How do you know the right spot?
These guys are easily of all the tag teams. These guys have the most charisma of ever, including. I'm going to say including the Bucks because these guys are better on the mic than the Bucks are, right? I would just say these guys are a good tag team to have in that spot because they are very entertaining and very charismatic, and they can work with all these other work great tag teams and stuff that aren't as charismatic because they can carry the angle on the mic with the rapping and
with
stuff.
The rapping, right.
So I have nothing against this. I like
my answer to that would be is you're constantly gauging. So if you know that on this certain date they're going to win the championship, but the fans are indicating we want it earlier, then you got to give it to them earlier, you know?
Right.
And so you're just constantly gauging.
Right. I'm telling you, honestly, you're right about this. I will say this. I don't know what they're doing with Swerve and Lee, but I would have rather had Swerve and Lee screw up and them take advantage of and beat them as opposed to them losing with the interference from what you call. Would you agree with that?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So next is a pretty entertaining segment. MJ's music interrupts Tony Schiavone's try to interview Jimmy Utah. Are we just going to start calling him Jimmy Utah now because he looks a lot like Jimmy Yang?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's Jimmy Utah. Okay, he comes out to cheers and said the devil has arrived. Said never get a reaction like he did. And MJF said the fans worship him. There was a man in the building who wouldn't let him sleep with his wife. MJF said the only reason he wouldn't do it is because he has standards. MJF boasted he's a generational talent. Utah, who is actually not bad on the mic here, comparatively speaking to his previous engagements on the mic, said it's true that MJF is a generational talent, but he's also the master of going after the low-hanging fruit. He brought up MJF's engagement and said he wouldn't go there. And Utah said MJF's fiance is smart and will walk out on MJF just like he walked out on all of us. MJF told the fans to give it up for Utah going from drying paint to pet rock personality. And MJF said Utah was in the Blackpool Cuckold Club. And MJF said Moxley and Danielson were fighting to see who would lose to him. MJF said Utah could ask Rachel how to teach him how to pop pills. Utah gave him a good slap, okay, which you always that shows you why you have to do a good slap because that was a good slap. Slap doesn't work. Who sold it, and then he headbutted Utah. Then he turned and shoved Schiavone down. I popped for that and told him not to touch him. I don't know why did he do that to Tony, by the way? That was kind of weird. Just immediately
to get heat.
Yeah.
So Utah tackled, but I don't think Tony's like a really big baby face.
No, well, he did. The people booed when he hit him. I was surprised. They were like, boo. Like they actually did boo him.
Right. Yeah. Utah tackled MJF and threw punches at him. This was maybe Utah has been listening to some of the criticism. His punches did not look bad here. He was throwing them with smoke and it looked. This was a decent pull apart. Then Morrissey pulled Utah off and then held him while MJF hit him with the diamond security ring. And security right now, and MJ and Morrissey headed to the back, and none of the Blackpool Combat Club came out to save the guy, which I thought was okay.
Well, you could say Cesaro had a match already. Maybe he's in the trainer's room. I don't know.
They're a faction, and part of being a faction is you don't risk one of your guys going out there and getting the beat out of it by getting ganged up on.
Yeah,
that's a whole. This was a hole in logic for me. Konnan, you go ahead. What did you do?
When I first saw Utah with the beard, I wasn't sure who he was. I think they don't want him to look like a high school, student or, he looked very young. Right. First, when I saw him, I thought he was maybe the company accountant or the yoga instructor the guy just doesn't, and I disagree with you. I thought he was brutal on the mic, and I thought MJF made it worse by pointing that out and burying him. You gotta love the salt of the earth. As usual, MJF carried it. I thought this guy was brutal on the mic.
Yeah, I don't. You know what? Was he brutal? Let's compare him to his previous ones. Was it better?
I didn't think he was good. How about that?
Okay. I wouldn't say he was brutal because brutal. There's no bar for brutal anymore.
Okay, I'll just say he wasn't good.
Worst. Right. Okay.
I just like saying brutal. But
brutal about that sounds actually. So next is Cassidy versus Pac. Typical match of these two. They did all their spots. Pac gets rolled outside the ring, grabs the hammer, hits Cassidy with the hammer in the head when he had him in a headlock, rolls in the ring and pins him 1, 2, 3. It's the third straight match with cheating for or interference or foreign objects for the win. What do you think? I mean, the referees are getting buried on this show. Like we've had 3 straight matches where there's been interference, foreign objects and stuff they haven't caught. It's like the officiating. It's like if this was like an actual live sporting event, Twitter would be all over how. If this was UFC, Twitter would be just complaining about how bad the officiating is. So go ahead.
It's tough for me to take the All Atlantic Championship seriously. It's like the FTW title. It's like, really, dude? I mean, what's next? The Great Lakes title? But this wasn't as good as their other matches, but it was still good. Another non-clean finish, And here's my problem. Cassidy never seems to win the big one.
Yeah. I beat Jericho's the only big match he's ever won, and that was a comedy match, right? Where they throw him in the orange juice?
Yeah. 1 out of how many?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
So next they have they got brothers. There's no interview here or anything in between the thing. So we go straight, come back to commercial. The 4-way women's match. I was not a fan of this. That Athena girl did a dumb spot where she had Britt Baker on her shoulders. Serena Deeb comes running out of her crossbody. She catches her, and then she. What do they call that?
It was like a fall away slam.
Like a fall away slam or backwards thing or what? I think they call it a. What's the word they name after the insect or something? The like where you grab the guy and both of you jump off and you flip over like moonsault
Spanish fly.
Spanish fly. It was kind of like a Spanish fly move, but she landed on her back landed on Britt Baker's face and busted her nose, and Britt Baker came up all bloody on the face.
Yeah, plus she's real small, bro. Shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
Let me just.
Okay, let me finish this. So Storm goes over, bro. No reaction. I felt bad for her. The reaction to this finish was very, very, very flat. So afterwards, Baker hits it from behind, and Jamie Hayter ran out and spins Baker around. And then they smile at one another and attack Storm while Deeb worked over Athena, and the 3 heels stood tall. So then they're gonna she's gonna put on her glove for the finisher. Then Saraya comes out, which is Paige. She used to be the girl whose career is supposed to be over because Sasha kicked her in the back and hurt her neck. So Saraya comes out, the heels powder, and Saraya plays at the crowd and off mic, not even on the mic, says it's her house. And then Storm and Athena joined her in the ring and hugged her. And everybody's popping about how great the pop was in this, but I'm sorry. I would rather a girl come out and make more of an impactful entrance and do something, challenge, verbal, something there. But her just walking out, and we're all supposed to be like, "Oh my God, this is unbelievable," whatever. So, what'd you think?
It just seems like Athena, Deeb, and Storm aren't over as Britt, but combined, they probably haven't had as much TV as Britt. And bro, the finish was flat because, like I told you, Storm doesn't command the ring. She doesn't take over. She doesn't even work the crowd. She just goes from move to move to move. She doesn't let the people participate with her. Mm-hmm. And so
doesn't engage with them.
Right, that's a big problem. And
So why should they cheer for her?
Right.
When she won, it's like, all right, she didn't really acknowledge us. All right, yeah, good win,
Right. And, bro, Saraya got a massive pop. I mean, that was huge, and for a long time, too.
But that's it. She's got a big pop.
So. Well, that's what you want, right?
I don't know.
It would have been better than crickets.
I will say that's true, but I will say everybody's talking about how great this was, and I will say, you could have done more, because I mentioned when Punk made his debut, he could have done more, and he didn't, and it kind of fell off, got a little flat real quick, so I would suggest that they need to do something with her big next week. Darby Allin was dragging someone in a body bag with House of Black paint on it. He placed it inside a taxi cab, and he told me he was heading to a funeral at Arthur Ashe Stadium. All right.
Then didn't he have him in the subway too?
I think so. Yeah. It's kind of
wasn't he like in a subway car? And am I?
Yeah, and then he got a taxi.
Yeah.
And they said he was heading to the Grand Slam.
Did
And
that?
it's funny.
Seems I've lost a lot of steam, Darby
Well,
Allin.
that's a funny vignette to run when the show's got like 20 minutes to go.
Right.
It's like, hey,
say
I'm
that-
coming to the show, right?
That didn't pay off, did it? I don't remember.
No,
He
it's just a
never
vignette.
arrived.
It's a vignette that they put in a very weird part of the show.
Maybe he'll
No,
be.
because I think they're talking about Rampage,
Rampage.
right?
Oh, Rampage. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So next is Moxley versus Danielson and the thing. I've seen these. How many times these guys wrestled? Or this is the second match or the third?
I think it's their second in AEW.
I was, I wanted to get to that. I knew I fast forwarded the first few minutes because I knew how long it was going to be. But then, these guys work good together. Danielson's matches I still like Danielson's matches better than most of the other part of the crew because he doesn't thigh slap. Everything is snug. Everything kind of makes sense, except I don't know why these guys. What was the spot they were doing where their legs were connected together and they're upside down doing headstands as they're trying to slap each other in the face?
That's a Mexican spot, dude.
That is a Mexican spot? This was not necessary for a world title match between two guys in the Blackpool Combat Club. I thought that was absurd. I mean, that's what did you think of that spot? You're fine because it's Mexico, but like
it's different. That's all I can say. It's not,
we've said before on the show, and Konnan's said it that you would have liked to see the belt go on Danielson. So what did you think of the finish with him giving it back to Moxley as champion?
I mean, he's a three. It doesn't really honestly. It doesn't say a lot for your roster. Okay, if the guy just got beat by a guy, they sent the guy home right after the match, and like the market correction here is just put it right back on the guy that he beat. I'm like, all right, so who's gonna beat this guy? He doesn't really have a challenger right now unless Wardlow steps up or who's the Miro steps up or stuff like he doesn't have a challenger.
Yeah, I guess not.
What do you think about that, Konnan?
I'm like you. I like Danielson matches. I like guys working over different body parts. He's such a great technician. But like Jericho, like when Billy Gunn got, when he did the Famouser outside, and Pac, it's okay that these guys won, but they really didn't need it. And I think the same thing here. Moxley's been the champion, and he's carried the company, and he's a great promo and all that. But I think Danielson should have had the belt. You're not doing anything with him. And he put over Daniel Garcia, and he put over all these people. You should have rewarded him.
Yeah, not a bad idea. But the show, my favorite, I thought the Acclaim was the best match, and I thought the Acclaim were the most over people on the show. Would you agree with that?
Let me see. As far as over, probably Acclaim, Saraya.
Oh, but she didn't do anything. I'm talking about for all the matches.
Moxley.
I'd say Acclaim was.
And MJF. Wow.
Yeah.
I cannot believe how over MJF is, and he heals on the crowd, and they still cheer him.
Yeah, he's in New York. He's going to have trouble getting booed, So, all right, that's been our AEW review.
Enjoy the rest of the show. Boom.